Hello everyone, welcome to another Talking Geeky Stuff video with me, Tenshi. And there was a little moment of silence for Benny Chan. Um, so today's video is about Benny Chan and his movies. He recently died, well, last year. Um, Oddly enough, I only found out a few months ago. I must have been haven't really been keeping up to date with much movie news, especially in Asia. No one too busy playing video games, I think. But anyway, I thought I'd do a video about him because about as of the time of recording this, I watched Raging Fire a couple weeks ago in London. It was a limited release in the theatres, and yeah, great movie. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And no, at the end, you got a little loving memory for Benny Chan, and the end credits. You see a lot of behind the scene pictures and so on. So that kind of prompts me to do a video about him because he's a great director. I grew up with him in the last 20 plus years. I mean, as a director, I think he's improved. He had, like most directors in Hong Kong, he has some really good films, some average films, and some not the best movies, right? I would say that Benny Chan is one of those directors that is, I would kind of compare him to, say, a Tony Scott kind of director, where you give him a budget, you give him a movie, you give him a script, he will know how to direct it. One of the few directors are really versatile, from action to comedy to drama, romantic kind of films. And yeah, so he reminds me of a Tony Scott, which is a good director, even great at some time, but he's always kind of maybe behind, like for example, when it comes to action, I think he's behind, say, John Woo of that kind of generation. Comedy, he's behind other great comedy directors as well. So he's one of those guys. He's like a all-round director. Like I said, equivalent to a Eastern version of Tony Scott. Ridley Scott's brother. He also recently died a few years ago as well. Shame as well. Rest in peace. Anyway, Benny Chan, I think the first movie that really caught my attention was A Moment of Romance, starring Andy Lau. To be honest, I didn't know it was directed by Benny Chan until later on, because I was a big fan, and still am a big fan of Andy Lau, singing career and his acting career. And back in the early 90s, Hong Kong was producing triad movies, a lot of heroic bloodshed triad movies. They always made that kind of like tragic hero, and Andy Lau kind of fits the mold of that, really. And I think at that time, young teenagers like myself, not just young teenagers, even older teenagers, always all want to be him, kind of like that character. So, great film. And then of course he started doing like other comedies like What a Hero, starring Andy Lau. Then slowly I noticed, it's the same director. Then the next film, it's the same director. Kind of got my attention. And I think that time he was good, but I was never really, say, a fan of his, because, at that time you had John Woo, even Ringo Lam films that I felt was better. When he come back, when I mentioned earlier, he's very versatile. He did A Moment of Romance, then he's What a Hero, two polar opposite type of films. Not only that, he also can do TV movies or TV shows like Fist of Fury, starring Donnie Yen. He also done another one called Kung Fu Master, starring Donnie Yen. So he not only does movies, TV, but different genres and so on. But here's some of the films I do recommend on this page here. I just recently went back and watched the Big Bullet. Big Bullet, recently a couple of days ago, because I kind of forgot about that. And to be honest, that's pretty fun. It wasn't, how to say it, today's standards. No, back in the early to mid 90s, you had that kind of style, the action style. Talking about the action style, I think that Benny Chan found his action style, I would say, around Gen X Cops. that kind of style. Janet's Cup was pretty decent when I was watching it back in, what was it, 98, around that time. I thought it was pretty cool, they give it kind of more of a modern day feel to it. Watching it again is, so-so, but back then it was pretty cool, And I would say he found his action style from there. I mean, take Janet's Cup, even the new police stories, Jackie Chan, Nicholas T, he kind of had that similar style, and that can become his kind of his hallmark, that style of action. And Invisible Target, another Nicholas T movie, definitely recommended, pretty good film. When I mentioned about how he does comedy, that comedy with the big cat is called Meow, starring Louis Cole. That's how I pronounce it, I think. Another pretty decent, funny family film. And yeah, also check out Robbie Hood, Jackie Chan, Louis Cole, I still can't pronounce his name. Kind of like an action adventure comedy, pretty fun to watch. But I'll definitely say from Gen X Cop, Police Story, Invisible Target, to Raging Fire, that has that kind of similar action sequences. Anyway, moving on to Raging Fire. I normally don't do this, and I'm only doing it because Raging Fire was Benny Chan's last film, and I thought I'd do a quick review, summary about that film. And it stars Donnie Yen and Nicholas T. They're great performance actors in my opinion. So anyway, I watched this a couple of weeks ago in the O2 Arena in O2, watching the cinema. It was okay. So when you go and watch a Donnie Yen film, of course, seeing the trailer beforehand, you're not really going in there to watch a high drama, good acting. Donnie Yen is not really known for his acting, even though I think Donnie Yen has improved. You watch it for the actions, the martial arts, and so on. This being a Benny Chan film, you will have more guns than martial arts. And at the same time, I think it kind of fits in with Donnie Yen. I mean, Donnie Yen, what is he now? Late 50s? So he can't keep up that performance all the time. But still, he's especially the last fight scene was really good. So I won't bore you with the story. It's pretty simple, and I don't want to do any spoilers. But you're not going to go and watch a Benny Chan film starring Donnie Yen for a great story. It's pretty straightforward. It does his job. Acting does his job. I think Nicholas T, in my opinion, steals the show. I was actually rooting for him at the end of the film, really. And in a way, I kind of agree with him. I know he did a lot of bad things, but kind of agree with him. And to some extent, that Donnie Yen was a bit of a dick. did what he did. I don't know. What would you do in a real life situation, right? It's questionable, isn't it? Anyway, back to the film. So I would say that as his last film, it is definitely a good way to go. Rest in peace, Benny Chan. I thought the action sequences are good. It definitely borrows a lot, influenced by Michael Mann's The Heat, especially the last action sequence. Definitely borrows a lot from The Heat. And the hand-to-hand combat at the end in the church, amazing. Typical Donnie Yen. You got that kind of more realistic approach to the fighting. A bit MMA, grappling, pretty chaotic style martial arts, which has become Donnie Yen's staple now, I think. And I think I like it. Back then, the martial arts in action movies didn't fit the action. It was too stylized. But when Donnie Yen come in recently, he's added that kind of more realistic approach to it. And I think it fits well with the action. There was one scene I do like, is like the middle scene, where, again, I don't want to spoil it, where Nicholas T and Donnie Yen went on the motorbike, and anyway, it's driving, and then the way that Donnie Yen saves a kid, I thought that was amazing. I like that. It reminded me of Captain America a little bit in Civil War. But overall, I will say this: I give it a good, maybe an 8 out of 10, because I review films, Asian films or Western films differently. I give different points, so to speak. Like I said, You know, Benny Chen has found his action style, I say, from Gen X Cop. And also at the same time, it's around the late 90s, early 2000s, Hong Kong Asian cinema had, added more budget, got, people went to study film in America, come back at a time to learn to do special effects, the set pieces are better, budget got increased. So that's why you see, if you go back and watch, say, Big Bullet and then watch Raging Fire, there's actually some sequences in Big Bullet that he reused. There's a scene shootout in the streets. There's a bank robbery scene very similar, but of course in Raging Fire, he executed way better because he had a bigger production, more budget, better personnel. People learned how to do action sequence better. They learned from Hollywood what to do and so on, and it pays off. And so anyway, don't want to spoil it. If you get a chance, I'm not sure if it's still in the cinemas, but it's coming out on the 22nd of January, Blu-ray, or you can stream it, or you can download it in other means. Watch it, definitely watch it. And I think Nicholas T, in my opinion, steals the show. I was actually rooting for him at the end. But overall, story-wise, pretty basic, but as an action film, you don't want a story to bog down the action. This is clearly an action film, starring Donnie Yen, Nicholas T, and you kind of pick sides, like I said. This film borrows a lot from The Heat, Michael Mann's Heat. But anyway, let me know if you've seen this film, and let me know what you think. And thank you. Please like and subscribe to see more Talking Geeky stuff. Until next time, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Goodbye.